Here's your news for December 13th, 2019. We're starting today by looking once again at the Rusev-Lana Lashley storyline as fans continue to bash the soap opera storyline. Though this angle looks like it may be coming to a close, the trio have received some serious harassment, and if Lana is to be believed, even death threats due to what's played out on screen. Speaking to comicbook.com, Lana explained that the death threats she has received have led to the highest authorities getting involved, saying, "I personally have received a lot of death threats. I've gotten calls from WWE and the FBI, people actually threatening WWE, having death threats on me, and the FBI has had to call me and protect me. And I get death threats on my comments on Instagram, on Twitter. I mean, people are bullies. I mean, today I opened my email account and I had this death threat on my email." Here's hoping that cooler heads prevail here, as nobody should be receiving death threats over a storyline, no matter how bad it may be. Speaking of questionable moments in the WWE this year, our next story concerns this June's Super Showdown event in Saudi Arabia, which saw the much-maligned first-ever singles match between Goldberg and The Undertaker. A match that showed just how frail both men had gotten. Goldberg would accidentally knock himself out during the match, describing it as, quote, "the perfect storm of crappiness." Now, the former Universal Champion is ready to discuss the match again, as he will be the next guest on Steve Austin's Broken Skull Sessions, and in a teaser from the episode, promises the dead man a receipt after losing to the Phenom back in June. While Goldberg may be wanting to get his win back in a rematch, it's unlikely that WWE would commit to the idea, especially after just how badly the first match played out. From two established legends of WWE now to the future of the company, as this week's edition of NXT saw Dakota Kai and Mia Yim put on one hell of a grudge match. Kai, who is now a no-good heel, naturally cheated her way to the win, removing the padding of the top turnbuckle to help score the victory. But things got even more intense after the bell had rung. The setup was for Kai and Yim to battle up to the raised tech area, and for Yim to suplex the New Zealand superstar down onto a pair of tables waiting below. This was easier said than done, as there was a gap between the tables, which resulted in Kai's head grazing the second table, while both women's bodies crashed through the first. A rough spot to say the least. Fans have been left questioning whether hitting her head on the second table actually lessened the impact for the back of Kai's head once it hits the floor. Though what we do know is that the Kiwi received 8 staples after her match with Yim. Kai's heel turn has been one of the most surprising changes in NXT this year, so hopefully she's okay, as the last thing the brand needs is another big star out with injury. Romance is in the air in WWE at the moment as the budding relationship between Batista and Dana Brooke continues to grow. After some serious flirting over the past few weeks, it seems Brooke-Tista have plans to get together soon, after Brooke's last boyfriend, NBA baller Enes Kanter, is no longer in the picture. On Twitter, Brooke asked her followers to guess the biggest liar and narcissist there is, and when fans responded with her ex, she confirmed their suspicions. Kanter, who briefly held the 24/7 championship, has said that he will be coming to WWE eventually, citing an open door for him, though if he does, it's probably a good idea for him to steer clear of his ex. Later on though, Brooke would tweet out a cry of fake news, though it's hard to see how the story is false, as she's the one who has given it. It may be a case that her account, like so many celebs who stir the pot, was hacked, so hopefully Brooke can get back on the WWE's The Bump to clear things up. Whatever the truth is, Kanter should probably keep his distance from Brooke, or feel the wrath of the animal. We're heading back to NXT now, as this week's show was a big night for Angel Garza in more ways than one. During the show's opener, the 27-year-old submitted Lio Rush to win the NXT Cruiserweight Championship, ending the Man of the Hour's reign at 63 days and becoming the first Mexican wrestler to hold the purple title. During the commercial break, Garza would cut a babyface promo to the crowd and bring his girlfriend into the ring before pulling out a much different kind of ring and asked her in Spanish to marry him. The future Mrs. Cruiserweight champion quickly said yes, and the proposal was aired when the show came back from break. While Garza may have had the best night of his life this past Wednesday, Finn Balor also had some major success, as the longest-reigning NXT champion will get another shot at the gold. After defeating Keith Lee and Tommaso Ciampa in this week's Triple Threat main event, Balor will challenge for Adam Cole's NXT title next week. Scoring the sneaky win, Balor pinned Lee following a coup de grace, but only after Lee had removed Ciampa from the equation with a spirit bomb. Post-match, Balor and Cole had a stare-down on the entrance ramp, as fans will have to see who walks away with the coveted gold next week. Speaking of NXT, this week's show put on an epic 2 hours of television on the USA Network, but so did AEW Dynamite on TNT. In fact, the two shows were tied on this week's ratings war, as both hit 778,000 viewers averaging the shows. With that in mind, fans have looked at the demographics, and if these are factored in, AEW Dynamite got the win this week, but only barely. In the 18 to 49 demographic, AEW got a .28 compared to NXT's .24, and this was a similar story for the 12 to 34 age range, as AEW got a .14 compared to NXT's .12. In following the usual trend, older fans sided with the old brand, as fans in the 25 to 43 demographic favored NXT, as did the 50 and over viewers. This week's Dynamite saw the Young Bucks face Santana and Ortiz in the main event, while NXT saw Balor's #1 contendership victory. And with both shows promising title matches for next week, it'll be interesting to see which show dominates in the ratings next Wednesday. The wrestling world is still reeling from the news that both the NWO and Batista will be entering into the WWE Hall of Fame next year, and one person fans have been itching to get the opinion of is Eric Bischoff. After all, the former WCW president was a huge factor behind the NWO, as well as one of their chief members, but interestingly, hasn't been included in the induction, as instead it'll be the quartet of Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and X-Pac who enter instead. On the post-show for his 83 Weeks podcast, After 83 Weeks with Christy Olsen, Bischoff revealed his thoughts on the induction, saying, "When the NWO evolved and came to be, that fuse was already lit, hit nitroglycerin, and it exploded the business in a way that, other than what Vince McMahon and WWE did by launching WrestleMania and bringing a lot of mainstream attention to the industry when they did. But other than that period of time, there is nothing that has been more significant to the wrestling industry than the NWO storyline. I'm not saying that because that was something that I created and was part of. I'm saying it because it's true." When asked about X-Pac's comments that Bischoff should be entering with them, the former Raw general manager replied, "That's nice of him to say, but he's not calling the shots, so it doesn't really matter. I wish he was. That would be great. I'd like to hang out with my buddies at WrestleMania. It would have been wonderful, but I don't worry about that. I love those guys, especially Hulk. These are guys that I have a deep affection for and respect for. So I couldn't be happier, and I'm just going to let it go at that." It seems Bischoff is fine with how things have played out, but did reveal that he's more than ready to induct the group, as there's arguably no one who makes more sense to induct the iconic faction than Eazy-E himself. Before the Hall of Fame and WrestleMania, though, the superstars of WWE will need to survive the Royal Rumble, and next January's event is shaping up to be very different indeed. While the 30 superstar matches have featured the odd NXT superstar in the past, that may change soon, as Brian Alvarez reported on Wrestling Observer Live that the plans are now to include more stars from the Gold brand. He said, "The idea for the Royal Rumble, and God only knows if things could change, and they could change a lot more depending on if AEW is winning or losing at that point, but the plan was Royal Rumble men's and women's will be 30 spots, 10 spots going to Raw, 10 spots to SmackDown, 10 spots to NXT. That was the plan. It might be unlikely that an NXT superstar will actually win either big match, but they will at least get an honest shot, as we already do know that the Gold brand stars will be in town for the Worlds Collide event. Unlike previous years, there is no takeover event before the Royal Rumble, and having anyone from NXT in the 30 superstar matches would be a great way to showcase newer stars unfamiliar to fans. We're traveling back in time to 2000 now, as the infamous story of former WCW World Heavyweight Champion David Arquette is about to be made into a documentary. The 48-year-old actor will be the subject of the doc titled "You Cannot Kill David Arquette," directed by Oscar nominee David Darg, who has followed Arquette for the last 2 years. After Arquette's film Ready to Rumble, which featured several WCW stars, began to tank, the company chose to give the actor a short run with the World Championship to help build intrigue in the show. Unsurprisingly, the decision was universally panned by fans and Arquette himself, who warned the company ahead of time that fans wouldn't like the idea and has spent the past year and a half trying to make amends in the sport. He said, "I've always loved wrestling. I wanted to do this film as a love letter to wrestling," Arquette said in a statement. "I didn't know when I started this journey that it may cost me my life, but it was all worth it just to have the wrestlers in the locker room call me one of the boys." According to The Wrap, the documentary will also feature Arquette's ex-wife and Friends star Courtney Cox, Arquette's siblings Patricia, Rosanna, and Richmond, Ric Flair, and many other big names. In a sign of genuine humility, Arquette gave his entire earnings from his WCW tenure to the families of Owen Hart, Droz, Brian Pillman, and Bobby Duncombe Jr., all of whom had been affected by tragedy at the time, and now the Scream star will have his chance to clear the air on his infamous title win. We've got some news from WWE's tribute to the troops now, as this year, the patriotic show for service personnel and their families won't be aired. This will mark the first time the tribute event hasn't been aired since 2010, and according to the PW Insider, the alternative of putting it on the network hasn't been considered. The report goes, "We are told that internally it has not been discussed as a WWE Network special over the last few days, but obviously that could change since WWE controls their own programming there." While the show had matches and segments, the footage for these may never see the light of day, and fans will have to wait until 2020 to see whether things change. And finally today, we're ending with some news from the most electrifying man in sports entertainment, as The Rock continues to keep busy as a leading man in Hollywood. Being the megastar that he is, many films are sold on The Rock's name being on the poster, meaning that there are hundreds of employees whose livelihoods depend on Dwayne Johnson being healthy and ready to work. This is the main reason why The Rock doesn't compete in WWE anymore, though that hasn't stopped fans speculating on a return match, possibly at WrestleMania 36. According to Sky Bet, The Rock taking on Roman Reigns is the odds-on favorite to close out the show of shows with 10-1 odds, while Reigns vs. Daniel Bryan has been given 16-1. Following this year's controversial finish to the main event, a singles rematch between Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey has also received 16-1 odds, while the much-speculated on 8-woman tag, pitting WWE's 4 Horsewomen against MMA's 4 Horsewomen, has been given 25-1 odds. Whatever next year's show brings, fans shouldn't expect the Great One to be in action, as he has confirmed his retirement this year. Though, as the old saying goes, never say never in the WWE.